Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Sorry this has taken so long, but continuing on our series after the Space Marine segment, where we are going to go through every single model range from Games Workshop 40K and review all the models in it. And basically this is just my thoughts and opinions on each of the different kits available for each faction. As before, my little criteria is basically the pose. Is the pose cool, interesting, unique, dynamic? The bits available, is there lots of like cool extra bits? If you were to kit bash, like is there extra parts or cool parts that you could use for other things if maybe the exact model available isn't what you wanted? Three is compatibility with the rest of the faction. Like maybe something looks cool, but it doesn't really fit anything else. It's just kind of a random one-off that kind of stands out and doesn't look like it goes together with the rest of it. And then number four is just like an extra category that I have. Like maybe the model itself isn't that great, but like the base is really cool. Or even the rules in game are so fun that it might make you want to have the model. But anyways, like I said, this is not very formal. This is just my quick thoughts on each of the models for a range. Today we are looking at the Adepta Sororitas, that I'm just going in order through their list. So first it was Space Marines, now it is them. So without further ado, let's jump in and start reviewing these bolter bitches. Alright, so first up on our list, just going by how they're presented on the GW website, we have the Kill Team Novitiates. So I guess these are like Sisters of Battle in training, being led by their one experienced commander. For what these are, I think this is a pretty good kit. They have a good amount of weapon options, being meant for kill team. Usually those kits come with a bunch of extra stuff anyway. They definitely fit the rest of the army pretty well. I don't know how they are in game. I don't really know anything about Sisters of Battle, but yeah, overall I would say this is a pretty good kit. Fits the army good. The poses are good. Weapons are good. I'm gonna go ahead and give these like a 8.5, 8.5 out of 10. Next, we have their little Strike Force box. I'm not going to touch on this too much just because all the models in here are presented on their own elsewhere, but just want to quickly say that as a box and as a little box set, if you're getting into the army, I think this is a pretty good one. You've got a good diverse mix of different units and models that really kind of gets the whole flavor of the army in one little box. So as a box set to start the army, I think this is pretty good. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. Now we have the Castigator tank. This is, I guess, their new like main battle tank. Essentially, it's just like a Space Marine Predator. Most of their vehicles kind of just look like the Space Marine versions, albeit with a lot more decoration and ornaments and holy symbols and whatnot all over them. I think as a tank, it does look pretty cool. However, for whatever reason, I just don't feel like it fits the army as much. It's just kind of a feeling I have in me, and I feel like they're not that super popular. I feel like people like their other tanks a little bit more. So it is cool. All the extra stuff that's on it is cool, but for whatever reason, I feel like it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't quite fit in as much. I guess it's because it doesn't look ridiculous enough. All their stuff is like really over the top, and this kind of is just like a tank with some extra stuff on it. So I'm gonna give this one like a 6.5 out of 10. Now we have Aestred Thurga, Reliquant at Arms. I have no idea what she is or what her role is. Obviously, she's got some sort of a big ass banner and some little sidekick. But this is very Sisters of Battle. This is very, the Holy Order of Imperial, Knights kind of, or Crusader vibes. Yeah, this is very Sisters of Battle. This is a good look. I guess the bits from this, I guess, wouldn't really be usable in too many other kits. It kind of looks like it just goes together the one way, but overall, I think it does look good. I'll give it a 7. Now, of course, we have their faction leader. This is Morven Vol, who I guess is also like a High Lord of Terra. Um, this is a very, very cool kit. I think this is probably like this might be my personal favorite of theirs. Um, the detail on the armor, the pose looks cool. Just all the bling and all the all the extra oomph that's put into this war suit. I would like it if she has a helmet option. I'm not sure if she does. And maybe some other weapon options would be cool, but for named characters, you don't usually get that anyway. So I think this is a very cool kit. I'll give this a 9 out of 10. Now, I think that if you are a Sisters of Battle player, you're probably really happy with the new Canoness kit. As far as I can see, it comes with a ton of weapon options, which would then give you a ton of extra bits and parts for your other models in the army. The pose is nice, of course, standing on a heroic bit of rubble. Yeah, and I know some people don't like, I think, some of the head options or face options. I would personally give them all helmeted heads anyway, so that's just how I would do things. But I think as far as a Sisters of Battle kit goes, you couldn't really ask for more out of a Canoness model, so I'll give this a 10 out of 10. Now we have the Retributor squad. This is your classic, like, heavy slash, elite weapon bearing squad. Every one of them, bar their little leader with the book there, has some pretty big heavy weapons like multi-meltas or heavy bolters. They've got the little, winged angel babies there with them, the cherubs. I think it's a pretty cool kit. I think it looks about as good as you would expect them to. The one thing, the head on the little leader person there with the book, not really doing it for me. Looks a little bit goofy, a little bit, uncanny valley going on there. So maybe again, just replace that with like a helmeted head option. It's a super simple fix to that problem. We'll give them an 8 out of 10 as well. Now we have the Paragon Warsuits, and I think maybe of all of the newer Sisters releases, these were probably the most, not controversial, but like a lot of people had a problem with them. I believe it's that the way that the legs specifically would line up with the person inside it doesn't really make sense. Like they would have to have like broken hips to make that work, which I mean, hey, maybe they do. This is 40K. Maybe they just friggin' smash those little sisters into there and make them fit whichever way they fit. But I guess my opinion on these is kind of the same as that. Like overall, I guess they look kind of cool. They're almost a little bit too like clean and high tech looking for the way the most of the other sister stuff are. Like I do like their other combat walkers better. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of like the baby carrier thing, like the Grey Knights one either, where like the pilot is mostly on the outside. The Morvenval one I gave a pass to, just because that one was so like extra fancy looking. These ones are kind of like meh. So I'm actually gonna give these probably one of the lower rankings of the army. I'm gonna give them like a 6.5, because they do have some options and some posability and stuff. Next, we have the Celestine Sacrosanct. This is, I believe, one of two versions for these guys, or girls, I should say. So these are your, like, I would say sword and board infantry, but these ones apparently have, like, freaking beat sticks on them here. Really cool models. I like their crazy ornamental back pieces. Looks like the one has, like, a bunch of candles on there, which, like, in the middle of battle, how are those staying lit? Doesn't matter. Looks cool. They've got little like bolters built into the shields and stuff. So yeah, I think these are quite cool. The poses are quite dynamic. And so I'll give those. You know what? I'll give them a 9 out of 10. Actually, I think they're one of my favorite Sisters of Battle units. They're very cool. Now this is a Sisters of Battle tank. We got the stained glass window. We got the holy fire. We got the frickin', Gothic architecture coming off the top of this baby. This is the Immolator. This is a classic Sisters of Battle vehicle reimagined with the new kit. It looks awesome. I'm not 100% sure if they can even aim those flamers on the front at all, or if they're just spraying forward, and that's the way hopefully the enemy is in front of the tank. Or maybe they're not hitting them at all. But I think this looks very cool, very ridiculous, over the top. This is more the Sisters of Battle vibe than I think that other tank that we looked at previously. I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. This is kind of like what people would think of more with Sisters of Battle, I think. So basically every army in 40K, with few exceptions, it seems, has some of these really old, out-of-date models mixed in with a mostly newer range. They kind of stick out like a sore thumb, some worse than others. So I'm just going to group in the Sisters of Battle ones together. These are the things like their little Their little priest guy, these weird little like assassin people, the crusaders. All these models are super old. They don't really fit in with the look of the rest of the army. They kind of look out of place, but like on their own, like as a little model, like they don't look too bad. Pretty much all of them. So I'm just gonna collectively give them a 6 out of 10. They don't really fit the look of the rest of the army. They kind of look out of place, but they're not the worst looking old models you'll ever see. Now, that one thing I just said about old models looking kind of janky and out of place, we can check that right out the window for this bitch. This is the Canoness Viridian. It's an older model. It's from the older range of Sisters of Battle, but it holds up extremely well, I think. The detail looks awesome on the armor. The pose is cool. Again, it's very over the top, very wacky and crazy looking. Very almost bordering on that grim derp instead of grim dark, but very cool model. I like this one a lot. I'll give it a 9. Now we have the Imagifier, again, another sort of like really over the top banner bearer or, relic bearer type lady. There's a lot of those in this army. This one, it's almost like carrying like a whole ass statue. It's very detailed, looks pretty cool and unique. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Although, to be honest, like banner bearing models aren't generally my favorite things, but in this army, you got to kind of give them a pass. That's kind of like their whole deal. Now we have the Sister Superior, Amalia Novena. As far as I know, this is kind of like the poster girl for the Sisters of Battle. I don't know how much like special rules and stuff she has. As far as you can tell, she's just a normal Sister of Battle with a bolter. But it is a very clean, detailed model. A ton of extra work into the armor details and whatnot. There's no like posability. There's no weapon options. So I'll give her an 8 out of 10. But it is a great looking model. Now this is the Sister Dogmata. She's just out here with her pimp cane, ready to lay the smackdown on some filthy heretics. Quite a fun model. Not sure what she does in game. I don't know any Sisters of Battle things, but she looks cool. I'm assuming maybe like a buffing character of some sort. I'll give her an 8 out of 10 just because no posability, no weapon options, but looks quite cool. Now we have the Hospitaller. This is obviously their medic sister, their nurse sister, and of course, being as over the top as they are, she's got freaking birds holding the scrolls off her armor up just so it looks more epic, I guess. Very cool model, very interesting, pose and base, quite unique looking. I'll give this a 9 out of 10, just for that alone. This is like, yo, I heard you like scrolls, so we got you some scrolls for your scrolls for your scrolls. This lady is just kind of over the top with the books and the scrolls, and clearly doesn't know about good fire safety because she's got candles all over the place with them. Again, quite a unique, interesting model. Not just maybe not as like cool as some of the other ones, so I'm just gonna give that personally like a 7-ish. It just doesn't look as cool as some of the other ones in my opinion. This one, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of on the fence about. Like the idea and the detailing and everything, like the skeletons on the flamers and the big giant eagle podium thing, like it all looks very cool and very Sisters of Battle-y. I wish they would have maybe implemented the idea a little bit better. Like it kind of doesn't look like that thing should be able to fly or hover at all. Um, there's not really any way for the chick on top to like melee somebody. Uh, it's just kind of it seems a little bit out of place for the army. Like it's like the detailing is cool, but like the design, like the shape of the model is a little bit off for me. I think they could have did it a bit better. Just giving it some more like exposed, you know, um, you know, thrusters or whatever. Just make it look like it could hover a little bit more. Made a little more sense. So I'm actually going to give this 6 out of 10 because it's still cool. Um, like the artwork on it, I guess, is cool, but not the actual shape of it itself, if that makes sense. Now we have Ethereal Stern and Kaiganol. This is like a Psyker Sisters of Battle with her Harlequin companion. Quite dynamic, unique poses. I actually quite like the look of these both a lot. I don't know if they super fit in with the rest of the army, especially having like a Harlequin running around in there with them. I'm not sure exactly how that works rules wise. But they are cool. I'm gonna give them a 7.5. Now we have the Repentia, which are the half naked, extremely sorry for what they've done sisters, wielding massive chain swords, just running into battle all crazy and hopped up on drugs. Um, Bit of an odd one, in that they kind of, because they're not wearing the armor and stuff, they kind of almost don't fit in that much with the look of the army, but then they are also like a classic part of it. So I'll give them a 7.5. That's just my opinion on it. That they look a little bit too different just because they're missing a lot of that stuff, but I know they are like an integral part of the army, so it makes sense for them to be there. Now, if you thought I was a little bit harsh on the Repentia, I straight up think these guys shouldn't even be in the army. To me, they seem very out of place. Arco-flagellants, I think they're supposed to be like criminals or heretics that they've strapped up with all this stuff and then they send them into battle, whatever. To me, they look like they should be from AdMech or even Dark AdMech. They don't really look like Sisters of Battle units at all to me. And I even if I was playing a Sisters of Battle person and they plot these down on the table, like I probably wouldn't really understand what they were for until it was explained to me. So I'm gonna give these actually probably the lowest rating of anything. They do look good. They're a new model. I don't think they really fit at all. So I'm gonna give them like a 5. It's a rhino. It does rhino things. It do be how it is. We'll give it a 9 out of 10. This is a very blinged up rhino, but it is still just a rhino. Now these are the Dominions slash Celestians, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not super sure what makes these so different from the normal Sisters of Battle infantry. I guess they're probably just a bit more elite or whatever. So all the parts from these, I guess, would be like interchangeable with the other kits of like Sisters of Battle infantry. So that's good. They look the part. They just look like normal Sisters of Battle to me, which I think are very good and well designed. So I'll give them a 9 out of 10. Now we have the Penitent Engines, and then there's the other version where they're more coffiny and less exposed criminally. Um, Now I know I didn't like the Arco-flagellants because I didn't think they really fit the army that much. These guys, I think, get away with it because of the way the war suits look. Having like the the torches and the purity seals and that stuff on it. I think that does help to sell it. Um, so I'm gonna give these guys. I'll give them actually like an 8.5, 9 out of 10. They're just a pretty cool looking combat walker anyway, and I think they kind of just barely work their way into looking like they fit in the army, whereas the Arco-flagellants didn't. So yeah, I feel fine with that 8.5 to 9 for them. Moving on, we have Saint Celestine herself and her two little companions. Um, I think this is pretty rad. The living saint, basically an imperial demon, flying around in your army, smiting demons and whatnot. I think she's very cool. It's a good model. There's a lot of extra stuff going on here. Little flock of birds coming out of her armpit and whatever. I think she's very cool. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It would be 10 out of 10 if her little companions looked a little bit more unique. They don't really quite look as fancy as maybe they could. Now, just the normal Sisters of Battle squad. I'm gonna go ahead and just give this a 10 out of 10 right off the bat. I'm just like retarded, and this actually can make those other two squads that looked very similar. I kind of feel like that's the case, and I'm just too lazy to even look into it. But these are your classic Sisters of Battle. They look great, lots of weapon options, tons of cool little bits in the kit to add to other things. I think obviously if you're a Sisters of Battle player, you're going to be very happy with these and have lots of them. Now, moving on from there, we have the Exorcist. Now, this, as far as I know, is the last like big vehicle for the Sisters of Battle. It's literally a rhino with a giant pipe organ on the back, except instead of pipes, they are little missile silos that shoot missiles out of the top of this thing. It is ridiculous. It is over the top. It is everything you want from a Sisters of Battle things. It even has some cherubs stuck up on top there. 10 out of 10 model. It's ridiculous. It looks impractical. Um, and it's very, very Warhammer and very, very grim dark. Have the Palatine. It's just another simple Sisters of Battle character. Nothing too crazy going on here. They're not breaking new ground. She does look cool. Not a lot of weapons. I'll give her an 8. Now we have the two different flying squads of Sisters of Battle. I believe it's a shooty version and a melee version. They're both quite similar. I'm going to give these guys a 9 out of 10. A cool flying squad of Sisters is pretty much everything you could ask for. The only way it could maybe go to a 10 is if they had some more crazy unique weapons, like some epic holy spears or something maybe. Now we have the Triumph of St. Catherine. I believe this is our last model, and if you could even call it a model, this is more of a diorama. There's like 10 different models on this base. It's absolutely wild, ridiculous, over the top looking, that this is something you can field and not just something somebody made. But here we are, and apparently this is a real Games Workshop model. I can't even imagine what a nightmare this thing is to paint, but it does look quite amazing and cool. And I imagine you could even like take all those characters off of it and make different characters. Like you could make like 4 or 5 different models from this if you wanted to and just didn't want this thing. Absolutely crazy. I'll give this a 10 out of 10. Now, as we did with the last video, I just quickly added up all of the scores for the faction, all the different models, and then took the average from that. So the average score for the Sisters of Battle range, in my humble opinion, was actually rounding up. It was an 8.1, so a pretty high score, which makes sense. It is a very new range. It's very recently updated. Almost every single kit is brand new, and basically, if it's with a few exceptions, if it's a brand new Games Workshop kit, the model is going to look good. It's going to look well made and detailed. Now, it's still up to interpretation whether the pose is good, whether they want to put some extra bits in there, which lately they kind of are lacking in. Um, so factors like that can still weigh in. But like if it's a range that's been recently updated to the extent that they have been, you're generally going to be in pretty good shape. Now, that's about it for this video, guys. I actually have a really cool video coming out very soon. I've actually partnered up with a very cool individual that I'm not going to name yet, but stay tuned for that. It'll be coming out very soon, hopefully. I've actually written a script for it for the first time ever, which I've never bothered to do before. So stay tuned for that. If you want to support the channel, there's a Patreon link down below where I post all my work in progress stuff. So all of my kit bashes and upcoming models will be posted on there first, as well as any like artwork or other cool things that are coming up for the channel or being made. So feel free to check that out. If you want to support the channel, it is only $1 to sign up for. And either way, thanks for watching, and hope to see you guys next time. Bye for now.